Hey guys! Last episode was a lot of fun because we got to hang out with Rikiya in Kamurocho. He got his Viper tattoo completed. He met up with a childhood friend from Okinawa here in Kamurocho. So we learned a couple things about Rikiya during these sub-stories. We learned how important his tattoo is to him and that its meaning is very important and that he's not going to show it to just any old schmuck who wants to start a fight and isn't worth his time. We also learned that Rikiya is a super caring person. He'll put his life on the line for others and he will do anything for those that are important to him, whether they deserve it or not, such as the case of that girl in the previous sub-story, but we're gonna move on from that. Okay, so about today's episode, there is a sub-story that we start around this time in Kamurocho, and we aren't able to finish it until towards the end of the game, and it's kind of a long one as far as sub-stories go. It's a little bit involved, but I felt like the placement of it being so close to the end, right in the middle of the action, right before going to the final showdown, we are doing this completing this long sub-story. So what I decided to do was to take the whole sub-story from when we first receive it to when we actually complete it, and we're going to do it all now because again, I just don't agree with the placement of where they completed this sub-story. So it's a really good one though. I really enjoyed it and I think you guys will too. So today is going to be a murder mystery. 6 years of my brother's life have been stolen away because of false charges. I'm asking for any help I can get to save his life from unjust imprisonment. It can't be her. Read the truth. Hey. Oh, Kiryu-san. What are you doing standing around here? He's the, is he the guy who works with Date? And who's that? What's she handing out? I think they're... Hey, you over there! I knew it! It is you! You're that journalist! Look what happened to my brother thanks to you! What happened? I never intended for that to... Journalists only care about themselves. Do you have any idea what horrible things happen to the people you write about? My brother didn't kill anybody! Oh, she's gone. Sounds like you two have quite the past. Yeah. What happened exactly? Maybe we could talk someplace else? Sure. 6 years ago, there was a murder here at Cafe Alps. Here? The suspect was a man named Akechi-san. That woman you just saw is his sister, Nozomi Akechi. Akechi. I investigated the story and wrote an article implicating Yuichi-san as the murderer. And this was the article that woman was talking about? That's right. Yuichi has consistently denied any involvement in the crime since his arrest. To be honest, even though I wrote the article, I wasn't completely convinced he'd done the deed. I didn't even want to publish it. I didn't want to make him out to be the criminal before we had all the facts. Let me guess, it got published anyway. I was the only person in the department who even considered Yuichi-san might be innocent. And I was only just getting my start as a journalist, so I had to go along with what my department wanted to do. I dug much too far into Yuichi-san's life for my investigation. I interviewed his relatives, even people in his neighborhood. Because of my reporting, people started labeling the Akechi family as the murderer family. They were forced to move. Poor Nozomi-san got bullied a lot at school, too. That kind of stuff happens, but I guess she does have a pretty good reason to resent you. Ever since Yuichi-san was declared guilty, I can't stop thinking about him. Damn, for 6 years! Should I have written that article? Were the charges against him false? False? You mean there's a chance Yuichi didn't do it? What makes you think that? I actually used to have a part-time job here a long time ago. Is that so? I worked with Yuichi-san. We talked all the time, and I got to know him pretty well. I just don't think he's a murderer. Huh. After that story got published, I swore I'd never repeat the same mistake. I've become an honest journalist who only reports the truth. Are you really just gonna let this go then? What? You still have doubts about the case, right? Yes. Then shouldn't you be trying to discover the truth? You know what? You're right. I think I gave up after that article came out. But you're absolutely right. I think I'll look into it one more time. How should I go about it, though? I mean, it's been 6 years since the murder happened. I guess you gotta start by talking to everybody involved in the case. Sure, but... But what?
Hello?
Could you help me, Kiryu-san? Huh? If I don't find out the truth, I'll regret writing that article for the rest of my life. You want me to look into that old murder with you? Fuck it. Let's do it. Alright, I'll do it. Thank you. So tell me more about this crime Yuichi Akechi was arrested for 6 years ago. Alright, here's the rundown.
事件が起こったのは夜遅く、閉店後、従業員たちが清掃作業をしている時間でした。
Okay. After closing, register, inside store, powder room, women's locker room, men's locker room, and office.
事件の第一発見者は、ウェイターの木下さんという男性でした。当時、この店のウェイターだった明智雄一さんは、清掃作業の途中、店の裏のゴミ捨て場に行こうとしました。その途中、ロッカールームの前を通りかかった時、雄一さん。
Whoops, I didn't mean to cut him off. Okay.
その時、ロッカールームの中では、店長の小田さんとウェイトレスの宇佐美さんが抱き合っていました。
Oh, in a compromising position in the men's locker room. Oh my.
その宇佐美という女性は、雄一さんの恋人でした。雄一さんは、恋人の浮気現場を目撃してしまったんです。
Oh. Oh. Damn.
怒った雄一さんはロッカールームの中に入り、店長の小田さんに掴みかかりました。
Okay.
その頃、ウェイターの木下さんは客席の方でずっと清掃作業を続けていたんですが、雄一さんがなかなか戻ってこないことを不審に思って様子を見に行きました。すると木下さんは店の裏口から出ていく雄一さんの姿を見かけました。直後、木下さんはロッカールームのドアが開いていることに気づき、中を覗いてみたところ、
Well, based on that,
頭から血を流して死んでいる店長の小田さんの姿が。
I can see why he was suspected.
警察の調べによると、死因は頭部打撲による脳挫傷。凶器は遺体のそばに落ちていた
Death by
客席用
ashtray?
の灰皿でした。
Must have been a pretty big, heavy ashtray. That's the gist of it. I see. You really do know a lot about this case. But from what you say, Yuichi's motive seems pretty clear. It sounds obvious he killed the guy his girlfriend was cheating on him with.
Hi.
I'm sure that's what the police thought too. And when they discovered more evidence later, they decided to arrest Yuichi-san. They found more evidence? Oh, I should give you this. What is it? The notebook I used to collect the information about the case. Please take a look at it. You might see something I missed. New information may be added to the notebook as the investigation unfolds. Check the notebook frequently to find hints as to where to go next. If you get stuck, take another look at his notebook and think where you might need to go to find the next clue. Got it. Oh, this sounds very involved. Wow, okay, so items. Here's the notebook. Oh, okay, so suspect Akechi. I mean, with a name like that. Waiter at Cafe Alps. Was in a relationship with Usami. Past the locker room. Beat Oda to death with ashtray ? Witness fleeing the scene by Kinoshita. Own fingerprints found on murder weapon. Convicted of murder. Wow, his fingerprints were found on the... What? Okay. Maeda was the lead detective. Detective for Police Investigations Division 1 led murder investigation from the start. His initial suspicion led to the arrest. Unparalleled drinker found in the bars of Kamurocho. Dislikes coffee. So we can find him at a bar, it looks like. Nozomi is the sister. Plans to skip college and work post-graduation. Attending famous private school for girls. Okay. Here's the victim, Oda. The manager, discovered by Akechi having an affair with Usami, beaten to death with ashtray. Blunt force trauma to the head. Usami had relationship with Akechi, already ended shift on day of murder, but stayed in the store. Witnessed by Akechi to be cheating with Oda. Kinoshita was cleaning with Akechi at the time of murder, discovered Oda's body, called the police. Not present on the day of the murder. Was closing register at the time of the murder. Okay, I guess we gotta go to a bar to find the detective guy. Detective Maeda of the Kamurocho police. What a surprise! If it isn't the fourth chairman of the Tojo clan. You know who I am? Hey, you're famous in this town, so what does the fourth chairman want with me anyway? I want to ask about the Cafe Alps murder from 6 years ago. Oh, that's shitstorm. Yeah, that was my case. Why'd you want to reopen that can of worms now? I'm trying to find out whether Yuichi Akechi really committed that murder or not. What? Are you saying you think he was falsely charged? Not a chance in hell. No? Why not? We aren't stupid, you know. The police don't arrest people without proof. We had plenty of evidence saying Akechi was the murderer. What kind of evidence? We had alibis, witness statements, fingerprints, and a motive. That did it. You've got all that evidence? Could you tell me a little bit more about it? Sure, I guess. Well, don't just stand there. Have a seat. Alright, what to ask? Let's ask about the alibis. Tell me about the alibis. As part of our initial investigation, we interviewed everyone who may have been involved in the crime. In the end, the only person without one was Akechi. So he didn't have an alibi. Nobody else could have murdered Oda. Guess we've got two choices. Either we find Yuichi an alibi or we find a flaw in one of the others. Let's see. Okay, let's ask about witness statements. Tell me about witness statements. Somebody witnessed Yuichi Akechi fleeing the scene just after the crime. I heard about that. The waiter. Masara Kinoshita? He gave a statement saying he saw Akechi. If it was me, I'd probably think Yuichi did it too. I wonder how I can refute Kinoshita's statement. Alright, let's ask about the motive. Tell me about the motive. Yuichi Akechi had plenty of motive to kill the victim, Oda. You mean because Oda was sleeping with Yuichi's girlfriend, Sawako Usami? Bingo! And we didn't find anyone else who might have had a reason to kill Oda. So they didn't find anybody else, huh? But what if someone else did have a reason to kill Oda? Okay, let's ask about the fingerprints. Tell me about the fingerprints. The deciding factor in Akechi's arrest was his fingerprints. We took and compared fingerprints from each employee with those found on the murder weapon, but the only ones that matched were Akechi's. We concluded that the other prints came from cafe customers, and so were unrelated. That sounds like pretty conclusive evidence. Was Akechi really the only person involved who had fingerprints on the murder weapon? So there you go. Solid evidence. But if you think we made a mistake, I'd sure like to hear it. Not enough to go on right now. Guess I'd better take a closer look into everything that was going on at the time. Do you know what the Cafe Alps staff from back there... Do you know what the Cafe Alps staff from back then are doing nowadays? Sure, I can tell you that much, but I doubt you'll get anything new from them. Okay, we got the whereabouts of the people. Guess my next step is to go visit the people involved. The florist might know something too. I should go talk to him. Okay, should we go to the florist first? This place is always so cool to look at.
You.
Hey, Kiryu, I hear you're looking into that Cafe Alps murder. Huh? How'd you hear about that? He's the fucking florist. He hears everything. Don't underestimate my information network. I know everything that goes on in this town. I guess you do. So, do you know anything about the murder? I have the police reports in my database. What do you want to know? Let's ask about the murder weapon. Tell me about the murder weapon. The same type of ashtray was found all over the cafe, but there was one significant difference between those and the murder weapon. Oh yeah? What was that? I don't know, blood on it? The weaponized ashtray had a chipped edge. Do you know how that happened? The day of the murder, a customer knocked the ashtray off the table onto the floor, chipping it. Akechi noticed it while he was cleaning up at closing time and decided to bring it out to the dumpster to throw it away. That's when he passed by the locker room and saw his girlfriend cheating. So there's no doubt Akechi touched the murder weapon that day. Nope. Normally, the ashtray would have been washed and all the fingerprints would have disappeared. But Akechi noticed that that particular ashtray had been chipped, so instead of washing it, he decided to throw it out. And by that twist of fate, everyone who touched it that day still had their prints all over it. So all the fingerprints on the murder weapon were made the day of the murder, huh? Okay. I have the police reports in my... Okay, yeah. Let's ask about the fingerprints.
Ooh.
These are all the prints taken from the ashtray. The prints outlined in red match Akechi's. This is apparently the evidence that led directly to his arrest. What about the other fingerprints? Well, one thing's for sure, none of them match the prints in any of the other employees at Cafe Alps at the time. They're thought to be from customers who visited the cafe that day, probably 2 or 3 people. Then one of these sets of prints might be from the real murderer? It's certainly possible. So the real murderer's prints could be on the ashtray, huh? Okay. You should be able to get more information from the people related to the case. If you haven't talked to all of them yet, you'd better do that. Thanks. You've been a big help. I owe you one. Okay, but... where do we find them? Alright, let's go back outside, see if there's anything that pops up. Or we can go back and look in our notebook. Okay, let's see. We need to talk to some of these employees, right? She's employed at Mock Bowl. Usami. He's at Nakamichi Popo. He's at Club Sega and Theater Square. Are you Sawako Usami? Yes. What do you want? I'm looking into the murder that happened at Cafe Alps 6 years ago. There's nothing left to say. Yuichi Akechi might not have killed Oda. If we're gonna find out the truth, I need to hear your account of what happened that day. Oh gosh. Jesus. Yeah, I can see how this is gonna be a long quest. You were there when Akechi confronted Oda, weren't you? Yeah. I mean, I was the reason they fought, so of course I was there. What happened after that? Did you see Akechi kill Oda? Yeah. I took off, so don't ask me. Took off? What do you mean? do you have any idea what it feels like to have your significant other walk in on you when you're with someone else? Talk about awkward. And it would have been even more awkward if other people started coming in to see what the fuss was all about. So I ran out the back door. What did you do after you left the cafe? I went home, but Yuichi followed me. We spent the night arguing about breaking up. Of course, I never imagined he'd already killed Oda-san. So you're saying you didn't see Akechi kill Oda? That's right, and I told the police that too. So nobody actually saw Akechi kill Oda, huh? Okay. Witness statements? Tell me about the person seen fleeing the scene. I don't know anything about that. I left the cafe before Yuichi did, so I don't know how he left. Right, okay. Okay. Ask about the motive. Although... I don't know if she wants to talk about that. Any idea why somebody would kill Oda? Are you trying to be funny? No, I mean, besides your relationship with Oda. Did he do anything to make anybody else mad? I don't know. The police would have known if he had any loans out or anything like that, right? I wasn't particularly close to him, really. We just ended up hooking up that night. I see. Maybe Akechi really did kill Oda after seeing him with Usami. Ask about the fingerprints. They didn't find your fingerprints on the murder weapon, right? Right. They only found Yuichi's. We constantly replaced the customers' ashtrays with clean ones, but Yuichi must have been the only one to touch that one. I guess he was just unlucky. Yuichi took good care of the customers and replaced their ashtrays often. I think he must have noticed that one was chipped. Oh, I guess that's it. Okay. Next person. Are we through here? I'm supposed to be working. Right, sorry. Thanks for the help. Okay, so we learned that nobody saw... nobody saw the murder happen. She left before it happened, according to her. And that's about it. I think we pretty much already knew all that other stuff. Like he was the only employee who touched the ashtray. Okay, so now we want to go to Club Sega, right? Yurimagawa, right? That's right. Who are you? I'm looking into the Cafe Alps murder from 6 years ago. What? He seems very jumpy, doesn't he? Okay, let's ask for their alibi. They say you weren't at the cafe the day of the murder. Is that true? Yes, I spent the whole day at home. Alone? No. Some friends came over and we played video games. And these friends corroborated your alibi? That's right. So it wasn't me. Objection! Do you know anything about the man seen fleeing the scene? No, I didn't see anything. I didn't say anything. I didn't hear anything. He's acting very suspicious. Isn't he? Can you think of anybody who'd want to kill Oda? I don't know anything. Don't ask me. Fingerprints? Your prints weren't found on the murder weapon, were they? Next, you're gonna start saying I wore gloves! Well, you're wrong! I wasn't anywhere near the cafe that day! Guess it stands to reason your prints wouldn't be on it. I guess that's... it. I don't know anything about the murder. Just leave me alone! Man, this guy's got a persecution complex. Let me know if you remember anything from around the time of the murder. Doesn't matter how small. I didn't do anything! Honest! You have to believe me! Everyone's saying I'm the murderer, aren't they? Aren't they? No, nobody's saying anything about you. I don't believe you! Everyone hated me at that cafe! They used to harass me! Harassed you how? Someone even stole my wallet, CDs, and uniform out of my locker on the day of the murder. Are you sure the police didn't pick them up as evidence? Absolutely sure. Someone was harassing me, I tell you. So somebody stole his things, huh? Oh. So he wasn't there, but he had stuff in the locker room and somebody took them. And he's sure that it wasn't the police that took them. But how would he be sure of that? Okay. Was there anywhere else to go besides Nakamichi Popo? I don't remember. That guy seems very suspicious. Not gonna lie. So he is at Cafe Alps. And then Nakamichi Street Popo. So Cafe Alps, isn't it right here? Okay, right by Nakamichi. So we're gonna go down this direction. All right, let's go. You're Kinoshita-san, right?
Hmm?
That's right. Who are you? Kazuma Kiryu. I want to ask you about the murder that happened at this cafe 6 years ago. Oh, that. Well, I don't know if I can tell you anything new, but go ahead. Let's see. Where were you, and what were you doing when Oda was killed? I was here, in the customer area, cleaning up. I believe you can see me on the security camera tapes. I wasn't in the locker room when the murder took place. Huh. Okay. Seems pretty solid. Unless he tampered with the security camera footage. Ooh. They say you saw Yuichi Akechi fleeing the scene on the night of the crime. Tell me more about that. Yes, I saw him. That night, Akechi-kun disappeared right in the middle of the cleanup. I waited a while, and when he still didn't come back, I went to check on him. I think that Akechi went in and saw those two in the locker room. So he went and found them. He dropped the ashtray and left it there, and then she ran. So he ran after her to go, to go hash it out with her. And then somebody else came in, grabbed the ashtray. But why weren't there any fingerprints? It was probably that guy. He was probably wearing gloves, like he said. Maybe, I don't know. That one guy we just talked to at the Sega. Yeah, it could have been a customer too. But we don't know of any people that were customers yet. So that's kind of tough. That night, Akechi-kun disappeared right in the middle of cleanup. I waited a while, and when he still didn't come back, I went to check on him. That's when I saw him leaving through the back door of the cafe. Are you sure it was Akechi? Well, I only saw his back, but I'm sure it was him. If you didn't see his face, then how can you be so sure it was Akechi? The man I saw leave through the back door was wearing our cafe's waiter's uniform. Aside from Oda-san, there were only 3 other male employees working that night. Akechi-kun, a guy called Asai-kun, and me. You can see Asai-kun spending the night closing the register on the security tapes. The only person I could have seen would have been Akechi-kun. I see. After that, I called the police and waited at the back door until they showed up. No one tried to enter or leave during that time. So Kinoshita didn't see the criminal's face. Okay. Let's ask something else. Motive. Did Oda have any enemies? Well, I'm not sure. I didn't really talk to him much outside of work. I see. Okay. Fingerprints. Were your prints on the murder weapon? Why does he keep asking people if their prints were on the murder weapon when we already know that they weren't? No, they weren't. I keep thinking that if I had touched that ashtray that day, I would have been blamed for the murder. Okay, we have one more employee to go talk to. Are you a detective, Kiryu-san? Not exactly. Why do you ask?
Yeah.
No reason. I was just wondering why anyone would be looking into that case now. I'm trying to help a friend out if Yuichi Akechi is innocent. Innocent? You think someone else could have been the murderer? It's possible. I see. I would feel terrible for Akechi-kun if he really was innocent all this time. I can't imagine what it's like to be imprisoned for a crime I didn't commit. Especially for 6 years. That'd be horrible. That's why we're trying to find out the truth. If you think of anything else, let me know. Okay, I will. Okay, let's go see Asai. Didn't it say Nakamichi? Oh, right here, because Nakamichi Alley. That makes sense. Move! I'm trying to solve a murder! Are you Asai? Former employee of Cafe Alps? Yeah, who are you? Kazuma Kiryu. I want to ask you about the murder that happened at Cafe Alps 6 years ago. Oh, that. So what do you want to know? Okay, let's go down the list. Alibi. You were at the cafe at the time of the murder, weren't you?
Oh.
Yeah, I think I was closing the register. It was after we'd closed for the night. So you didn't go anywhere near the murder scene? The locker room?
Huh?
Of course not. I mean, why would I? I was still working, wasn't I? What? He's acting kind of funny. Do you know anything about the person seen running from the scene of the crime?
Yeah.
No, I don't know anything. I only found out a murder had taken place when Kinoshita-san showed up looking white as a sheet. I didn't see the murderer at all. I see. Oh, but I did see Oda-san's body. Ugh, I can still see it. Bleh! So Asai went into the locker room after the murderer escaped, huh? Or was he there the whole time? Let's ask about the motive. Do you know anybody with a motive to kill Oda? Well, you reap what you sow. I mean, it was bad enough he was always messing around at the workplace, but going after another employee's woman? Get a grip! You make it sound like he'd slept with the other woman at the cafe with other women at the cafe before.
Oh.
Yeah, I saw him hook up with another woman there once. Another woman? Got a name for her? Yeah, I think her last name was Saito. I guess she was dating Oda-san at the time of the murder. I don't see anybody named Saito listed among the people related to the case. She'd already quit the cafe by that time. I heard she still hung around Oda-san though. So Oda was dating somebody at the time. But you would think if they checked the fingerprints and they found a former employee's fingerprints that would, you know, raise some flags that they need to check into that, right? Your fingerprints weren't found on the murder weapon. Isn't that strange, seeing as you were one of the waiters?
Oh.
I just didn't like doing the ashtrays. I always left that to other people. So it's pretty natural my fingerprints wouldn't be on it, I guess. I see. Okay. Well, let's see if we can go see this Saito lady. This job is pretty boring, so thanks for helping me kill some time. You can ask me more whenever you want. I see. By the way, do you remember Imagawa? Imagawa? Sounds familiar. Your coworker from Cafe Alps. Oh, Mr. Gloomy? Yeah, I remember him now. Imagawa says he had things stolen from his locker. You know anything about that, Asai? Nani? What? Nana? Man, our Nani counter sure is pretty sad this game, isn't it? What? You think I had something to do with it? Not particularly. No. I'm just trying to find out what you know. But you really think I did it though, don't you? Okay, you got me. I did do it. What? I was just trying to make a quick buck or two. All I took was a wallet and some CDs I sold off later. Anything else? Huh? Like what? You didn't steal Imagawa's uniform?
Yeah.
Uniform? How would I make any money off after How would I make any money off of that? All I stole was his wallet and CDs, that's all. So that's all Asai took, huh? Maybe the police really did take the uniform? Okay. Okay. The picture is starting to come together here. I've talked to everybody related to the case, but it doesn't look like it's going to be easy to prove Yuichi Akechi's innocence. I should meet up with Wakazo at Cafe Alps. We need to find this Saito girl. We need to talk to her. I just tiger dropped both those guys out of existence. God damn. Did he say Wakazo would be at Cafe Alps?
Hmm?
Is that her? Funny seeing you here. What's up? I'm taking one of my clients out on the town. We weren't in the area, so I thought I'd drop in and see you. Taking your client out on the town? Don't you mean you're going to one of those host clubs? My client just happens to like host clubs. Really? It's just a coincidence. Speaking of which, isn't your perfume a bit strong tonight? Oh, really? I didn't think so, but... Oh, look at the time. Okay, I've got to go. That Yuko. Who is that woman talking to Kinoshita? That's Kinoshita-san's wife, Yuko-san. Kinoshita's wife? How did you know that? She actually used to work here. That's how I know her. She worked here? Is that so? That's right. She'd already quit by the time the murder happened, though. And she wasn't on the security tapes of the dining area, so she definitely wasn't at the cafe that day. I see. It doesn't sound like Kinoshita's wife Yuko is involved in the case, but maybe I should look into her anyway. Tell me more about the... Oh. I guess I can't ask him about his wife. I guess we need to go to, she mentioned something about a cabaret club, right? Okay, now where was I? Is that... That looks like Kinoshita's wife, Yuko.
Kiryu-san.
Oh, Kiryu-san, what brings you here? Yuya, what can you tell me about that woman over there? Who? You mean Yuko-san? She's been a regular customer of ours for years. What do you want with her? She looks awfully rich for somebody so young.
Oh.
She manages a venture-funded startup. Her company got popular making products targeted at young women, and it's been growing pretty fast over the last 4 or 5 years. Is that so? Oh, Yuya, who is this? I haven't seen him here before. Is he a new host?
Oh.
Ah, Yuko-san. This is Kiryu-san. We owe a lot to this man here. And no, he's not a host. Oh, I see. Well, that's unfortunate. This is my company, by the way. If you ever need anything, just give me a call. Sure. Bye now. Tonight was fantastic. We'll be looking forward to seeing you again. Now we need to go back to Maeda, okay? Back to Bantam then, I guess. Although I don't know why we couldn't have just questioned her right there. Or set up a meeting with her to ask her some questions. You're quick. You work quick, man. Nope. I still don't see anything off about any of this. Do you have a minute? Oh, it's you. So, did you find proof of Akechi's innocence yet? What was that you were looking at? Oh, this? This is the list of evidence we made during the investigation 6 years ago. For taking such a hard look at this case, I thought I'd better take another glance myself. Can I see that? I guess, but you won't find anything wrong with any of it. I honestly can't figure out why you think Akechi is innocent. I got a list of evidence. Wait a minute. What's this? What? What did he find? What's what? I finally got it. Was it really this simple all along? No mistake about it. Somebody framed Akechi.
Nani?
Nani? What? Are you serious? Yeah, I'll explain everything, but first I need you to round up everybody related to the case. But it'll turn out fine. You'll see. Okay, just don't blame me if it doesn't. I'll get everyone together at Cafe Alps. That ought to work, right? Yeah, that's fine. I've got all the evidence I need. It's time to reveal what really happened 6 years ago. They're not gonna let me see the information so I can try to figure it out myself? Oh, okay. We gotta go down. Be patient. No! No! Patience? When have you ever known me to be patient? Alright, Kiryu. What did you figure out? Well, I did as you asked, Detective. I closed the cafe and kicked everyone out. Now, what's this all about? Kiryu-san and his friend would like to talk to all of you. I have you here for one reason, and one reason alone. I'm sure you all remember the murder that took place here 6 years ago. The victim was Kazuo Oda-san, the manager of this cafe at the time. One of the employees, Yuichi Akechi-san, was arrested for his murder. But did Akechi-san really kill Oda-san? I'd like to ask each of you to think back on that day. Do any of you have any evidence, any truly conclusive evidence that Akechi-san was really the one who killed Oda-san? I've been struggling with one question since the day of that murder. Could Akechi-san actually be innocent? But before I could find out for sure, an article I wrote implicating Akechi-san as the murderer got published. But thanks to Kiryu-san here, we finally arrived at the truth of what happened 6 years ago. But if Akechi-kun is innocent, that means someone else is guilty. Exactly. But what do you base all of this on, Kiryu-san? I need to show them proof of Yuichi Akechi's innocence. What should I give? This really is... Oh my god, this really is like Phoenix Wright, isn't it? List of evidence. I didn't even get to look at this. Let's try it. No, that doesn't prove anything. Okay, why is he innocent? Okay, the fingerprints. I don't know if that helps us. Usami's testimony. She was at the scene but failed to witness Akechi murder Oda. That might be a good start. Kinoshita saw the criminal flee but didn't get a look at his face. Okay, Oda was dating someone at the time. Asai stole his... Okay, that's... Okay, something was stolen from Imagawa's locker. All the fingerprints on the ashtray were made on the day of the incident. There's no record of Yuko coming to Cafe Alps on the day of the crime. I'm gonna start here with Usami's testimony. Usami was the one who saw Akechi and Oda fight the day of the murder. Isn't that right? Yeah, but I left in the middle of it. In other words, she didn't actually see Akechi-san kill Oda-san. Exactly. And only Usami saw Oda and Akechi fighting. So we can't conclude Yuichi Akechi killed Oda, which means the charges against him could be false. Sorry, but that doesn't hold water. What do you mean? Akechi's prints were on the weapon used to kill Oda. That's solid evidence to prove Akechi did it. Is that all you have to say? Huh? What do you mean? This was your case. You ought to know Akechi's fingerprints on the murder weapon alone weren't enough to convict him. I don't follow you. Spell it out for us, will ya? There's evidence I should show them now. Okay, so... Kinoshita's testimony? No? Okay, we're talking about fingerprints. Hi, Vic! How are you? I guess that... Fingerprints? There were more than one fingerprints on there besides him. I guess. The ashtray used as the murder weapon hadn't been washed because it was supposed to be thrown out. Akechi's prints weren't the only ones on it. That means you can't prove his guilt from the fingerprints alone. Detective, is that true? Yes, it's just as he says. So you admit it might not have been my brother?
Yeah.
But that's still not enough to prove somebody else did it. Somebody witnessed Akechi fleeing the scene. That's another piece of solid evidence. Think about it. You'd think the person actively fleeing the scene of the crime is the culprit, wouldn't you? Why'd they run away if they didn't do anything? What do you have to say about that? Kiryu-san, do you have any information to refute the witness statements about Akechi-san? Let's see. There's a hole in one of the witness statements. I just need to argue that angle. Yeah. Kinoshita. He didn't see the face of the criminal, the person who was fleeing. Kinoshita, you saw Akechi fleeing the scene, right? Yes, I did. Are you sure? I'm not lying. I'm sure I saw him. But you didn't see the face of the person fleeing the scene. You said that, right? Yeah, I only saw his back. So then it's possible you saw somebody else. Is that all you got? The police wouldn't have arrested Akechi on just any old vague evidence, you know? There was also something that proved the person Kinoshita-san saw was, in fact, Akechi. And what was that? The man Kinoshita saw leaving the scene of the crime was wearing a Cafe Alps waiter's uniform. The only waiters employed by Cafe Alps at the time were Kinoshita-san, Asai-san, Imagawa-san, and Akechi-san. The security tapes show Kinoshita-san and Asai-san out front at the time of the murder. We've also confirmed that Imagawa-san was at home. Therefore, by process of elimination, the only waiter Kinoshita-san could have seen was Akechi. Kiryu-san, is that true? No, it's absolutely possible that the person Kinoshita saw was not Akechi. I have a statement to prove it.
Nani?
Oh, Nani! So this is where all the Nanis have been hiding in this game. Well then, why don't you share this statement with us? Yes. The statement I need to give is Asai's statement number 2. No. Well, we already did this one, didn't we? Something was stolen from the locker. I guess we gotta start there. It was actually another crime committed at this cafe the day of the murder 6 years ago. Another crime? That's the first I've heard of it. Imagawa's uniform disappeared from his locker in the Cafe Alps locker room on that day. Imagawa-kun's uniform? Yes, my uniform disappeared from the locker. Since you weren't present the day of the murder, when did you notice it was missing? The
day after Oda-san was murdered, I came to work. The police were investigating, so I couldn't go in. But once the police left, I looked in my locker and saw that my uniform was gone.
Come on, the police probably took it as evidence. I'm sure there was plenty of stuff missing from the crime scene.
You're wrong. Someone was definitely harassing me. Everyone teased me. Asai-kun, why don't you tell them you took my uniform? You took everything else. The uniform must have been you too.
You're so whiny. Bully, police, whoever took it has nothing to do with Akechi or this case. No, Imagawa's uniform is the key to this case. Huh? What do you mean? I'll show you right now. I can show them 2 pieces of evidence that prove what happened to Imagawa's uniform. 2 pieces of evidence. Okay, so Asai's testimony, 2, and the other one, I don't know what's in the list of evidence. Look at the list of evidence I borrowed from you. There's no waiter's uniform on it. Ah. Let's see, you're right. I don't see any waiter's uniform listed. In other words, the uniform disappeared before the police showed up. If the police didn't confiscate it, who could have taken it?
It was Asai-kun, right?
No, not Asai. He did steal things from you, true, but he wasn't doing it to harass you. He was just after some cash. Your wallet and CDs make sense, but your uniform wouldn't have been worth anything.
Well then, who did it?
Oh, you mean the murderer took it? Exactly. Keep up, bitch. No. The criminal wanted to make it look like somebody else committed the crime, so they stole the waiter's uniform and changed into it. Then, as soon as somebody came by, they hid their face and ran out the back exit.
Is that true?
Kiryu-san.
So you're saying the person who stole Imagawa's uniform and fled the scene is the real criminal? Yeah. And who might that be? Yuko! Saito. The real criminal is Yuko Kinoshita, formerly known as Yuko Saito? Maybe? Yes. This is the only person it could have been.
Kiryu-san.
We got her.
それではその人物の名前を教えてください。6年前、小田さんを殺し、明智さんに罪をかぶせた事件の真犯人とは一体。
犯人はお前だ。木下優子、お前が小田を殺した真犯人だ。
Her? Are you serious? I can't believe it.
What?
Yuko killed Oda-san? An interesting theory, but why would I kill Oda-san? I didn't have any reason to do anything like that. Yeah, Yuichi Akechi's motive was Usami-san's relationship with Oda-san. Exactly how are Yuko-san and Oda-san connected? I need something to prove Yuko and Oda knew each other somehow. Oh, this one. Oda was dating someone at the time. Oda was dating somebody at the time of the murder. Somebody who used to work as a waitress at Cafe Alps. What? Is that true? Yeah, and her last name was Saito. Saito, that's Yuko's maiden name. I hear you worked at this cafe until just before the time of the murder. Yuko-san and Oda-san were dating?
I didn't know that.
Yuko-san, is that true? I don't have to answer that. Yuko.
If Oda-san was dating Yuko-san, then Usami-san wasn't the only one cheating. Oda was cheating too. And that means Yuko-san also had motive to kill Oda-san. So anyone with a motive is a killer? You haven't done anything but hypothesize. Exactly. You've only talked about possibilities. Do you have any conclusive evidence that she murdered him? Conclusive evidence. Like fingerprints? If only I had something with Yuko's fingerprints on it. Her business card. This is the evidence. Is that my business card? This business card has your fingerprints on it. We should be able to compare the prints on this card to the ones on the murder weapon. Give me that business card. Let's check it out right now. Well, that was quick. We finished analyzing the prints on the card. These are Yuko Kinoshita's prints. And these are the prints on the ashtray.
Oh!
There! The prints on Yuko-san's business card are the same as the ones on the murder weapon. I don't believe it. How do you explain that? Okay, but this is all great and all, but I still don't... It still seems like the same kind of evidence that they used against Akechi, so... Does Kiryu have anything else? Even if my prints are on that ashtray, so what? How does that change anything? Oh, because... I know why. Because there was no record of her being at the restaurant that day. Why? Because she was in disguise. So she couldn't have been a customer who touched the ashtray. Right? What do you mean? I ate at Alps the day of the murder. I must have just touched the ashtray while I was there. She's right. There's no crime in touching an ashtray. She was just a customer. No, Yuko's lying. I should call her out on it. We need... what's his name? Wait, what am I looking for? Where is it? Here we go. Oh, Wakazo's testimony. There's no record of Yuko coming to the Cafe Alps on the day of the crime. No, you're lying. What the hell are you talking about? There's no record of you coming to the cafe the day of the murder. Right, Detective Maeda? He's right. We had Cafe Alps employees watch all the security tapes, and they gave statements that no other cafe employees, former or otherwise, visited the cafe that day. Right, Kinoshita-san? That's right. I'd seen Yuko's face before, so I would have noticed if she was on those tapes. She definitely wasn't. Which means you didn't come to Cafe Alps on the day of the murder as a customer. So why were your fingerprints on the ashtray then? Fine, maybe it wasn't on the day of the murder. It might have been the day before. It's not that big of an issue. Nope, you had to have been here the day of the murder. You weren't a customer. You were the real murderer. The only people who could have prints on the murder weapon were those who visited the day of the murder. How did you come to that conclusion? And now for the coup de grace? How do you say it? I just need something to prove when the prints on the murder weapon were made. Okay, right? The florists. The ashtrays here are cleaned every day, but your prints were still on the murder weapon. That means you had to have been here the day of the murder. But... The day of the murder, a customer dropped the ashtray, chipping it. Yuichi Akechi saw the chipped ashtray and, instead of washing it, decided to throw it out. Since you couldn't have come to the cafe as a customer that day, there's only one time you could have left your prints on the ashtray. You did it after Akechi dropped the ashtray in the locker room when he witnessed Usami cheating on him with Oda. Sometime after Akechi left and before Kinoshita came to check up on him, you entered the locker room and murdered Oda. Then you put on Imagawa's uniform and went out the back. Isn't that right? Yuko-san, is what Kiryu-san says is true. It'll only get worse if you stay quiet.
Shut up. I told you I didn't do it.
やめろ
I give up. Yuko, I'm putting an end to this.
What?
Do you know something, Kinoshita-san? I knew you came to the cafe that day, Yuko.
What? How?
I could smell you. It was very faint, but I could smell your perfume all around the crime scene. Ah.
No way.
Why didn't you say this earlier? I'd been in love with Yuko ever since we worked together. That's why I knew the scent of her perfume the minute I smelled it. Sometime after the murder, I happened to run into her again. Eventually, we started dating. One day, I brought up the murder and her face went white. She felt quiet and avoided commenting on anything. That's when I was sure Yuko had been there the day of the crime. Well, I'll be. But I still didn't know exactly what that meant. Or I should say, I didn't want to know what that meant. When I found out Kiryu-san was looking into that old crime, I decided to keep it all a secret. But now Yuichi Akechi has suffered 6 years for a crime he didn't commit, all because I didn't say anything. It's all my fault. If I'd just spoken up, none of this would have happened.
Gee, Kinoshita-san.
さあ、もう言い逃れはできないぜ。
優子さん、今一度尋ねます。あなたが小田さんを殺したんですか？
そうよ。私がやったのよ。
Bitch. Will you give this a statement that Yuichi Akechi is innocent?
Yes, Akechi-san had nothing to do with the murder.
Yuko, how could you have done such a thing? Was it really just because Oda-san was cheating?
Of course, that's what it was about. He said he was going to marry me.
事件が起こった日、あの日は彼の小田さんの誕生日だった。だから私は彼を驚かそうと思ってプレゼントを持ってお店に向かったの。もうお店も閉まっている時刻だったから裏口から入ってロッカールームに向かったわ。でもそこで見たのは他の女と浮気してる彼の姿だった。私はとっさに身を引いて隠れた。落ち着いて目の前で何が起きてるのか理解しようと努めたわ。
Wait, why didn't Usami say... Oh, maybe they didn't see her. I'm guessing they didn't see her. She just, like, opened the door and was like, shit, and then went... Yeah, they didn't... Okay. I was like, why didn't Usami say that she was there the whole time? Because she was getting fucked in the ass, that's why. She was busy. Okay.
そのすぐ後に明智さんがやってきた。明智さんはロッカールームの中を覗いて小田さんと宇佐美さんの浮気現場を目撃すると手に持っていた灰皿を落とし小田さんに掴みかかっていったわ。言い争うような声が聞こえた後すぐに宇佐美さんがロッカールームから出てきて裏口から店の外へ出て行ったわ。すぐに明智さんも宇佐美さんの後を追って店の外へ出て行ってしまった。明智さんと宇佐美さんが出て行った後 私はロッカールームの中へ入っていった。小田さんは私の姿を見てすごいびっくりしたみたいだったけど、浮気がバレたことが分かると開き直って別れ話を切り出してきたわ。宇佐美と一緒になるつもりだから別れてくれってね。
Damn.
その言葉を聞いた途端、完全に頭に血が上っちゃって、気がついたら近くに落ちてた灰皿で小田さんを。
Oops.
それからは桐生さんが言った通りよ。私はロッカーにあった制服に着替えて、わざと裏口の前で誰かが来るのを待っていた。少しして誰かが客席の方からやってきたから、顔を見られないようにして裏口から出て行った。それで部外者の自分には絶対に疑いがかからないだろうって思ったわ。
Fuck. Poor Akechi. Poor Oda. Poor everyone. Man, this... She fucked a bunch of shit up. I mean, I was already fucked up, but she fucked it up even more. Several years passed. I ran into Kinoshita-san and we eventually got married. I started selling things as a hobby and it soon turned into a business. Before I knew it, it grew into a larger company. It's been 6 years since that day, and my life's been going so well. I can't believe the truth came out now, of all times. Yuko-san, did you ever think what it felt like for Akechi-san to bear those false charges? What it felt like to be knocked down to rock bottom and have his freedom stolen from him these past 6 years? And think what would have happened if he hadn't revealed the truth if we hadn't revealed the truth just now. How many more years would he have suffered? Only the person who took Akechi-san's freedom away can give it back. You need to turn yourself in. Testify in front of a court and pay for your crimes. Can I escort you to the station? Yes. Yuko! I'll be right here waiting for you when you get back. No, man, bitch! Divorce her! She's fucking crazy! Masaru. Thank you. Extra, extra. Guilty criminal of 6-year-old murder turns herself in. The man originally accused of the crime now stands to be acquitted at a new trial. I was wrong about the media. I thought you just went from one person to the next looking for gossip. I didn't think you cared about the people in your articles. I figured you just forgot about them the second they left your pages. But you've been worrying about my brother this whole time. You've even proved his innocence. There are decent people in the media. Thank you so much for helping him. Nozomi-san. I also have to apologize for the way I treated you. I want to give you a reward for helping me get a retrial for my brother.
Yeah.
You don't owe me anything. As much as I hate to admit it, I didn't do anything on this one. Proving your brother's innocence was all the work of Kiryu-san here. I certainly don't deserve any reward from you. What are you talking about? You did what a real journalist is supposed to do.
Eh?
What do you mean? Sure, you wrote an article saying Akechi was a murderer, but now you've written an article clearing his name. Isn't that the way a real journalist is supposed to resolve things? Sure, but I won't let this be the end of it. I'll continue to follow the truth until the day I put down my pen. That's my duty as a reporter. And I'll be cheering you on. Man, that was really something, wasn't it? I liked that. I want to do more murder mysteries. Oh, I got 200,000 yen and 20,000 experience points.